Welcome to the UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual freethinkers who gather to celebrate life, build community, and better the world. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Karen Alvarez, your worship associate for this morning, and the service today is being led by our minister, Eileen Casey-Campbell. This service is also being live streamed to our YouTube channel, and we will plan on continuing with hybrid worship services throughout the year. So you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube if you prefer. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway. And whether it's your first visit or your 10,000th, we're glad that you came. I do have a few announcements to share today. Please wear a mask. Masks are available in the front for anyone who forgot one. RE and childcare will be provided this morning by Nancy Reed and Kaya Mills. We'll be collecting cards for joys and sorrows after our first hymn. Please fill them out or type into the chat box on Zoom if you have something you'd like to share. I have a couple of announcements to also add. We'll be placing an order from the UUA bookstore on 11/28 that will qualify for free shipping. Please email admin@canandaiguauu.org if you would like to add anything to the order. You can find things to add to the order at uuabookstore.org. Next week, we'll be having a bake sale. You can email me at Karen, nope, that's the wrong one, khjacoby@gmail.com if you would like to provide anything for the bake sale. And if you are usually remote, we will figure out a delivery service if you are interested in participating. Also today after the service, we have potluck. Please join us, whether you've brought anything or if you haven't. Are there any other announcements for the good of the community? Dorothy?
I'm going to first start off by thanking everybody who has previously donated to the Dignity Bags effort. Dignity bags are given to people leaving the immigration detention facility in Batavia, New York, who are often just dropped off with no personal items except a few things they might have had when they were picked up at the border. And the bags provide them with toiletries and like a hoodie or a sweater and various other items that will be useful on their journey, and a $20 bill for incidental cash. I had said in the announcement that I sent out that I thought we were going to do it on November 20th, but I think we actually are going to do it on November 27th because we have the bake sale on the 20th, and I don't want to confuse people about what we're doing. So I think we'll probably try to do the dignity bags on the 27th. At this time, we need 9 $20 bills, one for each bag. We still need 3 hoodies or light jackets, 6 small reusable water bottles, 6 men's deodorant, 6 toothbrushes and toothpaste, 1 pack of assorted combs. At least some of the packs I've seen have 10 in them, so 1 pack would do it, and 9 small shampoos. We already have a lot of things downstairs, underwear and socks and many other things that we've already collected for the dignity bags. So on the 27th, we would fill the bags with everything that we have collected so that we can drive them over to drop them off in Buffalo for them to be distributed to people leaving the facility in Batavia. So please watch your announcements and we will update you as we get more materials to put into the bags. And then on the 27th, if you are willing to come downstairs and just help put stuff into the bags, we have a checklist. You can just check off as you add things into the bags as we're filling them up with the items that we had donated. Thank you.
We would like to have a choir for our holiday service on December 18th. And so I'm interested in finding out if there's any interest of folks singing in the choir. It would be set up where we would rehearse on Sunday morning starting at 9:15, and we'd rehearse for half an hour. We'd start doing that in the Sundays in December. And then we would sing on the holiday service on the 18th. Plus, we would videotape of some hymns that we would include in the Christmas video service that will be sent out for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for you to enjoy. So please let me know, Mel's family at AOL.com, or our phone number is also in the directory, or you could also write to, I think you can write to music@canandaiguauu.org, but just let me know if you're interested. Thanks.
Are there any other announcements? So this morning we have Daniel from Literacy Volunteers Ontario Yates, one of our service partners, who will share a few words about the organization with us this morning by Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. As said, yes, I am with Literacy Volunteers Ontario Yates, known as LVOY. And I am the office manager, though I began my journey in literacy 6 years ago as an office volunteer and ESL tutor. So I'm just going to talk with you very briefly about who we are and what we do and who we serve. So we are an adult literacy organization that serves 2 counties in Ontario and Yates with 3 locations, one in Canandaigua, which is our main branch, one in Penyan, and a 3rd location housed in the Geneva Library. We serve adult learners in these 2 counties, so 18 and over, and our mission really is to provide adults with the literacy skills needed for them to achieve their full potential. Their goal is our goal, and they're the reason why we exist. And our volunteers are also the reason why we exist. And so if they're coming to us with maybe they're a migrant, a refugee, an immigrant, and they need help in English skills, we help with that. If they're coming to us and they want their high school equivalency, we help with that. If they're coming to us, if the military has sent them over, they need help passing the entrance exam, we help with that. But if they're just coming because they want to improve their literacy skills, because they want to be able to read, because they want to be able to write a letter to their kids, their grandkids, we help with that. Anybody that fits our qualifications, we don't turn anyone away. And qualifications is really an adult in that they will put in the time needed so that we can help them achieve their goal, because that's what we're about. Our office is open in Canandaigua Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. You can contact us at 585-396-1686 if you want more information, or info@lvoy.org, or you can email me at daniel.ellers, E-L-L-E-R-S, @lvoy.org, or you can even contact me by cell if you want further information. My cell is 585-309-7953. But our goal, like your goal, is, and our mission, like your mission, is to serve the community. And that's what we're all about. And thank you again for having me. Oh, one more thing, I almost forgot. The 3 ways you can help our organization is to volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers, volunteer ESL tutors. We really have a need right now in the Victor Farmington area. We really need a lot of female tutors out there. So if you know of anybody, if you could refer anybody, we would really appreciate that. Another way you can help is by referring learners. And a third way you can help is by making a donation of any amount. We are predominantly state funded, but we do serve a lot of learners who cannot be state funded. Many LVs will turn those away. We do not. We serve who we can, whoever wants help. So thank you.
As we prepare to be fully together, I remind you to silence your phones and devices. We now enter a space of worship. I invite you to join with me in our chalice lighting words as the flame is lit. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. So this morning I wanted to show you one of my most prized possessions. It's this soup tureen right here, which is actually pretty heavy. Try not to drop it. It was a wedding gift to me and Brian, and it might be my favorite one, even though I hardly know the giver. I couldn't pick her out on the street if she passed by me. So we were married about 10 years ago, and a few weeks after the wedding, we received this gift delivered from a name and address that neither of us had ever recognized, that had ever heard of. We opened it to find this simple white serving dish with a note tucked inside of it. And the note said this: Eileen, I'm sure you don't remember me because you were a baby the last time I saw you. My husband and I lived down the road from your parents' farm when you were born, and during the months that he was dying, your mother, who's a nurse, came by every day with you on her hip to check on him, to help me bathe him, to sit with us both. Your father looked after our farm along with his own for that whole season. I don't have much to give, but this bowl has graced my family's table for years, and I hope many grateful mouths will be fed from it at yours. And friends, I think this is why we come to church. I think it takes so little sorrow to remind us that we are not enough on our own. We come together in community because we know so deep down at the very core of our humanness that we need one another. Here we are working to create a web of belonging where no one is alone, where in our greatest joys and in our deepest sorrows, we can be a sanctuary to one another. Let's sing together this morning. Will you rise in body or in spirit here or at home and sing with me hymn number 175, We Celebrate the Web of Life. Friends, we say to one another here in this community, in our celebrations and in our pain, we are with you. So I invite you, if you have joys or sorrows on your heart this morning, to write them on the slips of paper you'll find on your seat, or type them into the chat if you're joining us by Zoom, and pass them forward now. Are there joys or sorrows to share this morning? Now it's time for a story. If you're a smaller person and you want to come up closer to hear the story better, feel free to come and sit on the rug down in front. Feel free to stay right where you are, wherever you're most comfortable. This is a story that comes from the Anishinaabe people, and it's called Gustabi and the Magic Game Bag. And it goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a young boy. He was just a new teenager. His name was Gustabi, and he had just learned how to hunt from the elders in his community. And he found it to be a little difficult and maybe, dare I say, even a little boring. So he went to his grandmother and he asked her, "Grandmother, will you make me a hunting bag that I can keep game in?" And so she made him a small hunting bag. She sewed it together for him and gave it to him. And he said, "It's not big enough. I need a bigger one, grandmother." So she made a bigger one and she brought it to him. And he said, "I need it to be really big, grandmother. I need it to hold so much game." And so she went and she sewed together a magic game bag for him that looked like a normal size, but inside could hold an infinite amount of game. And so Gustabi went into the forest with his magic game bag, and not very long after sitting beside his favorite tree, he started to feel bored. And so he said, "I know what I'll do. I'll play a trick." He opened his game bag and he started to shout, "Animals of the forest, your lives are in danger. The world is about to end. Come into my game bag and I will keep you safe." And as he shouted, the squirrels and the rabbits started to run into his game bag. And he continued to shout, "Animals, your lives are in danger. Come into my game bag and I will keep you safe." And the badgers and the porcupines ran into the game bag, and still there was room, and still he continued to shout, "Come into my game bag and I will keep you safe from the end of the world." And in came the deer and the bear and the moose even, and the game bag held them all. And every animal in the forest came into his game bag. He slung it over his shoulder and dragged it home to his grandmother. And he said, "Grandmother, I have played the best trick. Look in my game bag. I have every animal in the forest and will never have to hunt again. All the game we'll ever need." His grandmother said, "Oh, I have made a mistake in giving you this game bag. Listen, Gustabi, here is what will happen. If you take all the animals out of the forest, you may never have to hunt again. Without the animals to fertilize them, soon the trees of the forest will start to die. Without the animals to clear the brush underneath the trees, the fires will come and burn our forests down. And then we'll have no shade, no trees to pick fruits from, no trees to build homes out of, and soon we'll die too. And then all the generations after us will be lost. This is not the way to hunt, Gustabi. You need to bring the animals back. You want to hunt this generation and every generation after you. You need to do it the boring way, one animal at a time. Said, okay, grandmother. He went into the forest with his magic game bag, opened it up, and he said, animals, I have saved you. The end of the world is over and you can go free now. And they did. And that is the end of our story.
Now is the time in our service to join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church in its work. Each week, we're spotlighting a group or committee to thank them for their gift of time and to invite others who are interested to join them in supporting our church and programs. This week, the group is religious education. So on the occasions that children are here, today we have a lot, we send them downstairs for religious education, and we are looking for volunteers to help with that. It's pretty straightforward. I did it last week. You get a little task to teach, and you get to meet really awesome kids. So if you would like more information, you can reach out to Nancy Reed about that. 1/4 of our plate collection for the harvest season goes to Habitat for Humanity, an organization that builds strength, stability, and self-reliance through shelter. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check in the basket. Or if you're joining us from home, by visiting canandaiguauu.org/connection/donate, or mail a check to UUCC at 3024 Cooley Road, Canandaigua, New York, 14424. In either case, make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We now gratefully accept the offering.
We have lots of joys and sorrows in our hearts this morning. We celebrate with Tom, who's here for the second time, and who's celebrating a new home on Conesus Lake. We celebrate with Oren, whose grandparents came to visit and also brought gifts. And we join together in our continued support of the migrant family who are trying to relocate, with gratitude for the support that has poured out for them and some worry about how much they still need. For these and all the joys and sorrows left in the silence of our hearts, I'll ask Karen to drop a stone in the water, and we say to one another, we are with you. Will you say it with me? We are with you. And now our friends who are off to RE are off to RE. You can head downstairs for some fun. I want to invite you now into a time of centering and meditation, followed by some shared silence. Reminding ourselves, of course, that what we mean by silence is the absence of grown-ups talking to each other, so that we can listen more closely to the sounds of life, the sounds of the cars and the wind passing by outside, the wiggles and giggles of our children, the deep breaths of the neighbor beside us, the beating of our own hearts. Let's take a deep breath in. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears as you let it out. Perhaps your eyes fall closed. Let a foot or both feet or some part of you touch the ground and feel connected to this good earth that holds us all. This wounded earth is our common body, a universal web. And our hearts threaten to break at the pull of pain and complicity in every direction, threaten to shatter us apart. Hear me out, my loves. Maybe we allow it. Maybe we allow it and see that our only power is love. Maybe we finally say, yes, beloved, break our heart. Break it wide open. Break down all our defenses, every wall we ever built around these hearts. This is our body, broken for you, but not in despair, in hope, in joy, in love. Maybe broken open, this heart has room to be a sanctuary for love. I'd like to offer a reading from Richard Powers' The Overstory. He writes this: when the lateral roots of two Douglas firs run into each other underground, they fuse. Through those self-grafted knots, the two trees join their vascular systems together and become one. networked together underground by countless thousands of miles of living fungal threads. The trees feed and heal each other, keep their young and sick alive, pool their resources and metabolites into community chests. They are far more social than we ever suspected. There are no individuals. There aren't even separate species. Everything in the forest is the forest. Competition is not separable from endless flavors of cooperation. Trees fight no more than do the leaves of a single tree. It seems most of nature isn't red in tooth and claw, after all. For one, those species at the base of the living pyramid have neither teeth nor talons. But if trees share their storehouses with the world, then every drop of red must float on a sea of green. Here ends the reading. I've been in a feud with a tree for a few years now. I know what you're wondering, and yes, I am aware of how absurd that sounds. In our small city lot backyard, approximately the size of a postage stamp, I have 2 raised beds for growing vegetables. I put them in when we moved into our house in 2018, and in the last couple of years, they've been less and less productive. There is a black walnut tree just the other side of our back fence on the edge of an apartment building's parking lot. For those of you with zero interest in gardening who've learned over the course of my ministry here, things against your will, things you never knew, you never wanted to know, I apologize. The metaphors are just too ripe to pass up, pun absolutely intended. Anyway, here comes another. Black walnuts create a compound that is toxic to many common garden plants. And though I've been diligently removing all the leaves from my yard, after 4 seasons, the tree's root system has grown and the cardboard lining my garden beds has disintegrated. This year, only the garlic made it to harvest. So I've been fixated on how to win this feud and talking through many a harebrained idea with my friend Petra. Petra, who runs Fruition Seeds here in the Finger Lakes, is much more knowledgeable about growing things than I am, but is also a patient friend who lets me spiral a bit before offering advice. When I got to the idea of dismantling the raised beds and planting in 300-gallon galvanized metal stock tanks, she finally weighed in. Maybe you could work with the tree, she said. I stared blankly. The tree is poison. The tree must be defeated. The tree is my sworn enemy. You know, black-cap raspberries love walnuts, she went on. You will always find them growing in a walnut's shade in forests. You could get a lot of jam out of this situation. And listen, some days, all I wish for humanity is that we each have a friend so wise that they can see us escalating a conflict and point out that if we just leaned into relationship instead of power, we could get a lot of jam out of the situation. In my quite literally fruitless efforts to make the earth of my tiny backyard align with my individual goals for tomatoes and eggplant and winter squash, I really, truly lost sight of the forest for the one uncooperative tree. I accidentally accepted the lesson that 400 years of colonialism on this land has tried to teach me. I forgot that I am not the master of my domain. There's really nothing like a garden to remind one that dominion isn't possible, that those false idols of achievement and self-reliance are nothing but traps. So in the middle of this season of enough in our congregation, I find myself asking, am I enough? Am I enough? And I have to answer that no, on my own, I am not. I could never hope to be. None of us could. But in connection to all our relations, We're more than enough. We are everything. In connection to all our relations, we can come to realize that we were never alone to begin with. Everything in the forest is the forest. That's a hard truth to hold on to when your whole society is built on the myth of individual exceptionalism, right? Work hard and get ahead of the rest of your community, I suppose that is meant to mean. We've spent several generations describing the natural world as it functions in the same way, as if it functions, in the same way our violent man-made economy of competition works. We talk about survival of the fittest as a cutthroat competition for resources and the chance to pass on one's individual DNA, which is useful to make us feel like that violent economy of competition is natural, inevitable. Because if we're all lone actors here, solo agents in the tooth and claw wild, then competition for resources must be the nature of the world. But it's a myth. We know it's a myth, but we need reminding sometimes. Even our conversations and spiritual development materials around this season of enough have bought into the myth a little, haven't they? It feels like a gift in the environment of violent competition to be told, you are enough. Just as you are, we say, you alone are enough. I'm sorry, you're not enough alone, because you're not alone. You are enough and you deserve self-care, we tell one another, but that is a trap of individualism. You do not have to be enough, you are not alone, and you deserve community care, because community is the nature of the earth, not competition. The world is a tapestry of interconnection, not a race to the resource hoarding finish line. The survival of my own DNA is wrapped up in the survival of the plants who have synthesized every drop of sunshine that ever becomes animal energy, who make the oxygen I breathe. Theirs is wrapped up in the survival of the mycelium whose bodies connect them to their relations and gift them with mineral nutrients. And theirs is wrapped up in the survival of the decomposers who make a feast of the dead, ensuring nothing is cast aside as worthless. There is no waste in the tapestry of life, no one outside of this web. None of us alone is enough. And praises be, no one is alone. Everything in the forest is the forest. There is a really appealing sense of power and agency in the lie of individualism. And being one small part of a great wide tapestry can feel very vulnerable in contrast. But that vulnerability itself can be a source of meaning and joy if we allow it. So on Wednesday morning, my younger child woke up early because daylight savings is fake and toddlers know it. And as I scrolled through election results on my phone with fear in my throat, I remembered the morning after the 2016 election. It had felt then, from my position of quite a bit of relative privilege, like the direction America had seemed to be heading in was flipped over. The hopes of an ever progressing arc of the universe always bending toward justice seemed dashed. It felt like justice, liberation, equality, peace, and most importantly, an earth fit to live on. They seemed like the promise of a future that had given way to hate and bigotry and destruction. I had watched those results of our pile of individual choices in sorrow and horror late into the night. And then morning came, like it always does. I woke up to sunlight bouncing off the last of the yellow fall leaves on the tree outside my window. My baby slept, a different baby who knew how to sleep in. My baby slept breathing lightly beside me. And suddenly all of that personal, individual lament was interrupted. The breaking of my heart wide open let in such profound joy. This intricate web is our common body, and of course we feel the sorrow of all its wounds. Of course it breaks our hearts to open our eyes and see pain pulling at every fragile thread. And there is no greater joy than when love breaks us open to be sanctuaries unto one another. There is nothing more powerful than the turning of our hearts toward whatever breaks them. To know the sun rises in spite of our individual choices. The noises of tiny humans are still soft and sweet. The threads of life are woven together in this glorious web, and those threads, even by the worst of our choices, are not breakable. Even the smallness and vulnerability we feel to be part of a larger whole is a source of life-giving joy. The good news of our faith is that we are not alone. Both our vulnerability and our strength live in our interdependence. It is only in relationship with the whole, not competition amongst a collection of singular ones, that any real power lies. Because in spite of any individual's actions, the world lives on. The sun rises, babies sleep, both unaware of the false drama of competition wherever it plays out. The web is whole and will always be. Because no matter what our loneliness tries to convince us of, we are not alone. We are not singular entities, pure individuals who live and die by our own efforts. We need the sanctuary of one another, of this whole web. Whether we lean into relationship or not, we are related. We are, whether we feud with the trees or cooperate with them, part of the forest. There is nothing set apart from the web of life. There is nothing in the forest that is not the forest. The black walnuts know this to be true. The mycelia know it. The barred owls and the bacteria, the milkweed and the brook trout know it. And somewhere deep in our being, I believe we know it too. We are not enough, and we are not alone. May it always be so. Amen.
Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember and bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on? Carry on. This one knocked me to the ground. This one dropped me to my knees. I should have seen it coming, but it surprised me. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember? Carry sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. In a state of true believers on a street called us and them, it's gonna take some time till the world feels safe again. Be my refuge, my haven in the storm. Will you keep the embers embers warm till my fire is all but gone. Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. You can rest here in our chapel, for with a circle of friends, or a quiet grove of trees, or between two friends. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire is all but gone? Will you remember? Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on.
Offer as a benediction these words from Mary Oliver. I would say that there exist 1,000 unbreakable links between each of us and everything else, and that our dignity and our chances are one. The farthest star and the mud at our feet are a family. There is no decency or sense in honoring one thing or a few things and then closing the list. The pine tree, the leopard, the Platte River, and ourselves, we are at risk together, or we are on our way to a sustainable world together. We are each other's destiny. Would you rise in body or in spirit and sing together our closing hymn in the Teal hymnal number 1068, Rising Green.
Please join me in our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.